Hey everyone, my name is Evan Thomas, and in today's video you're going to learn everything you need to know about the DJI Osmo 2 gimbal for your smartphone. We'll unbox it, set it up, balance it, go through some specs, and review it so you can be up and shooting in no time. These gimbals are great and they add a lot of production value to your videos. They're light, compact, you can throw them in your bag if you're going down to the beach, down to the park, going on a vacation, going skiing. So if you don't have a DSLR and you don't need a big gimbal, I highly recommend one of these small compact gimbals like the DJI Osmo 2. And they go for anywhere between $140 up to $200, just depends on where you live. You can get them on Amazon, but they do a lot for their size and their price. And like I said, add a lot of production value to your videos. And you're probably familiar with DJI if you're a filmmaker. They are the market leader in drone technology. And on all of those drones, they have very complex gimbals. So the same technology that goes into those drones is in this DJI Osmo. And the first thing you'll notice when I open it up and box it is that it's a little bit of a nicer quality than the other gimbals like the Zhiyun Smooth and the Moza Mini. So let's open it up and see what's inside. The first thing you'll notice is this styrofoam case. It's kind of a cheap case in my opinion. The Moza Mini, for example, comes with a nice travel case that has a hard shell and zippers. This one doesn't have zippers, and I don't know, it's just not a nice quality of a case. I thought DJI would do a little bit better, to be honest. So let's open up the case. And inside you have, of course, the gimbal. You have a charging cable. And you'll notice one thing that's missing that's very important is a tripod. I cannot believe DJI did not ship this with a tripod. The tripods are so helpful for getting it set up, for balancing it, and when you're shooting, if you need to set down the gimbal, you just pop open the tripod and set it somewhere. The fact that this doesn't come with a tripod and it's more expensive than the Zhiyun is kind of a shocker to me. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'm gonna use the tripod that came with the Moza Mini. And DJI, please include a tripod in your next Osmo. So before you get started, you'll want to make sure that it's fully charged. It takes about 2.5 hours to 3 hours to charge this thing, which is quite a long time, but then it should stay charged for between 10 and 15 hours. It really all just depends on the balance. If the gimbal isn't properly balanced with your smartphone, the motors need to work harder, they exert more energy, they use more battery, and they overheat. And finally, you won't get a stable shot if your gimbal isn't properly balanced. So I'll show you how to balance it now. Take your phone, you're going to open up this clamp, and you can see that the gimbal is not balanced. When I hold it in the shooting position, I let go, it falls down to my right. So therefore I need to balance it. And to do that, I just unscrew this screw here. Because the phone is shooting to the right, I'm gonna push it this way a little bit and just make micro adjustments. And there you go. Now it stays in the center. So that's a properly balanced gimbal. I'm gonna retighten the screw. The other thing you'll need to do before you get started is to download the DJI Go app. You can get that in the iOS store or the Google Play Store. If you have an iOS phone, an Apple phone, you can scan this QR code to download it. So now we'll turn on the gimbal by holding down the power button for just a couple seconds until all of the lights at the top illuminate and the gimbal turns on. I'll also want to connect it via Bluetooth to the DJI Go app I just downloaded. That way you can control the camera through the gimbal buttons. So once you've downloaded the DJI Go app, just open it up. And now you can see that the camera is connected to the gimbal. So if I move the gimbal to the left, it goes to the left, go to the right, it goes to the right. And there's a very simple interface here on this gimbal. You just have the joystick, the power button, and the recording button. So if I click the red record button, video starts recording and I can move it around. So right now I am in pan follow mode. So if I pan to the left or yaw to the left, it follows. If I click this mode button once, it'll go into free mode or lock mode. So now when I pan to the left, pan to the right, you can see that the gimbal is staying. If I pitch down or pitch up, the camera is also staying centered. If I want to go back to the pan follow mode, I just click the mode button once, and now I'm back in it. You also notice that if I pitch down, the camera follows. If I pitch up, the camera follows. Now, I don't think you can actually change this from the buttons on the gimbal, but if I go over to the right side of the app and click the third button down, which is a little gimbal symbol, and I click pitch lock, and I exit out of this. Now when I pitch down, you can see the camera stays facing forward. When I pitch up, the camera stays facing forward. If I pan left, it follows, but pan right, it follows. Yeah, so that's the pitch lock. And you can also see that I'm in walk mode, and this is for if you're walking, you enter this mode and the gimbal's movements are a little bit slower. If you want to enter into sport mode, you click it, and this is for like if you're running or following someone that's running, the gimbal's movements react quicker. I'm just going to go back and go into walk mode for this demo. On the left side, we have the selfie button, which is the bottom left button. We have different shooting modes. So these are really cool. You can do slow motion, which any normal iPhone can do, as you probably know. You can also set up a time lapse, and there's a little tutorial to show you how to do that. I'm not going to bother, but it is a really cool feature. There's also hyperlapse, which is another really cool thing. It's basically a walking time lapse. So as you're walking, you also have the motion lapse. Again, there's another cool demo that you can watch, and there are video tutorials on YouTube from other channels. I'll try to link to one in the description if you want to see how to do these. If I want to do something like live stream, I click the bottom right icon, which is the gear icon, and you can see I have live streaming to Facebook and YouTube, etc. I can also change around the device name. There's gimbal calibration if your gimbal's a little out of whack. You can change the video resolution, the panorama quality, zoom sensitivity, etc. Speaking of zooming, there is a zoom feature right here on the gimbal. It's on the left side of the panel. So if I hold down, I zoom in. If I hold up, I zoom out. And again, that's a really fast zoom, so you can go into those settings and change that. If you want to do something called active track, which is a really great feature, and if you have a DJI drone, you know about this feature. I click this little circle crosshair icon that's in the bottom left, the green one. And now I just draw with my hand an image, or excuse me, a box around something. So right now it's locked onto that TV, and when I move the camera, the gimbal follows. I'm doing nothing else. The gimbal is doing this all by itself. And this is a really great tool if you're following behind someone that's walking and you want to stay locked on them. So this is something that the DJI Osmo gimbals have, and also the Moza Mini gimbal. It's a really cool feature. So if I want to exit that mode, I just click that button again, and now I'm back in metering mode. What metering mode does is allows me to tap on something on the screen and focus on it. If I want to increase the exposure, I drag up. If I want to decrease it, I drag down. Drag up with my finger, drag down. And I can lock onto something by tapping and holding on that object with my finger. There also is a portrait mode, so if I tilt the camera like this, you can see it goes into portrait mode. Maybe if you're using this for Snapchat, Instagram stories, you're live streaming to one of those platforms, this is a great tool. I'm gonna go back. And there's also underslung mode, so if I go like that, I can really get down low to the ground and shoot the gimbal that way. So overall, none of these settings should be really surprising if you're familiar with gimbals. I will say that this is a very nice gimbal. I took it to Croatia along with the Moza Mini, and you can see some of the shots I got here. The great thing about these gimbals is, as I mentioned, they're small and compact, and they're great for traveling. So I didn't want to bring my full DSLR gimbal. I just wanted a little portable one, and these are some of the shots I got in Croatia. Before I go any further, I'd just like to ask you guys for a favor. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a like, subscribe to this channel to see more tutorials and reviews. And most importantly, if you have any sort of question at all, please leave your question in the comment section below. I get back to every single question within 48 hours usually. There is a joystick on the gimbal interface. So as you might imagine, if I go to the left, pan to the left. If I go to the right, pan to the right, up, down, etc. There is a charging port for the gimbal right here on the side. And if you want to charge your phone, This gimbal does not have wireless charging like the Moza Mini does, which I think is a great thing about the Moza Mini. However, there is this little port here, and the gimbal is shaking again. This gimbal tends to vibrate a lot randomly. You probably saw this in another part of the video, so it's kind of a strange thing about the DJI ones. Something to consider. But again, here is the USB port, so if you want to charge your phone, you can do that. What's a little bit strange is the charging port for my phone is here, butted up against this motor, so it would be very awkward to try to charge this at the same time. In fact, it would be pretty much impossible unless I slid the camera out. So another design oversight, I think, on DJI's part. One other thing that the Moza Mini and the Zhiyun have on top of the DJI is that there is only one accessory mounting port, and that is on the bottom where I have the tripod. So if you want to connect a microphone or a big handle, some sort of battery pack, a light, you can only do that with this one accessory port down here, whereas the Moza Mini has an accessory screw here, 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 and here. So if you're a serious filmmaker and you use those accessories, that's one thing to consider with this gimbal. One of the most frequently asked questions I get is, can you use the DJI Osmo 2 with other apps such as ProCam or ProCamera or your phone's native video and photo app? And the answer is yes, you can. These buttons on the gimbal will control those different apps, and that's something that the Moza Mini does not do. So that's one thing that I think the DJI Osmo 2 has above the other gimbals in this price range. As I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I will get back to you. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, click the like button. And to see future tutorials and review videos, please click subscribe. Thanks for watching.